And that's who you are. That which never changes. And if you ask any of the spiritual masters who've ever walked among us, any teacher that will come your way, they will teach you that reality is the part of you that is eternal. And when you live there, you abide in an absence of fear. And you begin to know that life itself is a sublime experience. And there are no accidents in it at all. That this is an intelligent system that we are all a part of. And that intelligence, whatever you want to call it, flows through each and every one of us. And the same intelligence that moves a star across the sky moves a thought across your mind. The same intelligence allows the seedlings to sprout. And will take a little seedling and have treeness in it, just as a little drop of human protoplasm has you-ness in it. And it has a future pull. And the whole physical domain is handled in that drop of human protoplasm. When you will show up and when you will leave. It's all in there. The thing that makes you a member of something called higher awareness is that you, unlike a tulip bulb, which has its future pull built into the bulb, you get to decide. You get to decide on the pictures. And you get to determine what your life truly is, not what this garage where you park your soul is all about. And to understand this, go to the poets. We were doing a tour, a backpack thing with my wife and two other couples this summer on Haleakala in Maui, this dormant volcano. And you go down in there and you hike for 3 days. It's a wonderful experience. It's like the closest you can get to being on another planet, I think. It's very silent, and the terrain looks like God has just sort of reached down and placed each object in there. It's a very peaceful, beautiful place. And it's all volcanic dust. And when we got one day in, and we all sat down to do a group meditation, I picked up a handful of this volcanic dust, and I said, would you like to... I used to teach this poetry, and I've written a lot of it myself. And I said, would you like to hear what Emily Dickinson had to say about this in a poem that she wrote in 1914 called A Single Hound? And we all sat around and we meditated, and I held this dust in my hand. And I said, listen to Emily Dickinson, and listen to this, and think about you as the noticer and as that which is being noticed. What you've been watching as you send your body back to nowhere. And what part of you is real and what part isn't. She said, this quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies and lads and girls, was laughter and ability and sighing and frocks and curls. This passive place, a summer's nimble mansion where bird and bees fulfilled their oriental circuit, then ceased like these. Think of this room filled with all of these people here tonight. And think 1,000 years into the future. And listen to her words again. This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies and lads and girls, was laughter and ability and sighing and frocks and curls. You see, if your primary identification is with this thing called your body, then you are destined to a life of fear. If you know that who you are in a state of heightened awareness is not this raw material, it's as if this organizing intelligence we'll call God has taken all of this raw material and organized it into various levels of awareness. Here are some rocks, here are some plants, here are some animals, here are human beings. All made up of the same stuff. It's not the raw material that separates us from all other life. It's something called awareness. And this heightened awareness that we have a capacity, most of us live our lives at the awareness level of survival. The awareness level of daily awareness in this room, where the animals live. Just sort of taking care of their offspring and providing for themselves and planning a little bit for the future and putting a little bit away. And the idea of a higher level of awareness doesn't even enter our consciousness. We're satisfied to survive, except for the fringe dwellers who say, there is a deeper, richer experience of life. I know it. And just because you who are in my life are not on my path, not only are they not on your path, they're not even on an entrance ramp to your path. And they probably won't be. And that's divine too. That's perfect. That's here to teach you to be kind, not to be right.
Principle number 1, be independent of the good opinion of others. There are many well-meaning people in our lives who have ideas about what we should or shouldn't be doing. Relatives tend to be specialists in this area. If we let them guide us with advice that isn't congruent with our inner calling, we'll suffer the anguish, the slings and arrows, if you will, of an uninspired life. Each of us can feel what we're being called to be. When we pay attention, we can hear our own impatient voices coaxing us to pay attention and complete the assignments we brought with us from the world of spirit. But when we allow the opinions and dictates of others to determine what we're doing or what we're going to be, we lose sight of our objective to live an inspired life. We need to determine for ourselves exactly how much we've allowed others to decide issues such as what we do, where we live, with whom we live, and even how we're treated. We must know that absolutely no one else truly knows and feels what we're here to accomplish. So we must give ourselves permission to hear our inner guidance and ignore the pressure from others. Principle number 2, be willing to accept the disapproval of others. Logically following the previous principle, this one notes that we're going to incur the disfavor of many people when we follow our inclinations to be in spirit and live the life we came here to live. This isn't a selfish or a cynical attitude. When we begin to follow our ultimate calling, there will be a lot of resistance. In fact, the purpose of the slings and arrows sent our way is to get us to change our mind and be reasonable, which translates to, do it my way. However, as we gain the strength to ignore the pressure to conform, resistance will diminish and ultimately change to respect. When we steadfastly refuse to think, act, and conform to the mandates of others, the pressure to do so loses its momentum. Principle number 3, stay detached from outcomes. Inspiration doesn't come from completing tasks or meeting goals. In fact, that's the surest way to have it elude you. Returning to spirit, you see, is an experience of living fully in the present moment. Our purpose in life isn't to arrive at a destination where we find inspiration, just as the purpose of dancing isn't to end up at a particular spot on the dance floor. The purpose of dancing and of life is to enjoy every moment and every step, regardless of where we are when the music stops. Yoga Master Sri Swami Sivananda offered the only worthwhile goal I know of when he said that the goal of life is God realization. Now here's a goal that I can live with. After all, this allows me to live in spirit every moment of my life, while simultaneously thinking ahead to the next God-realized moment and the next. As the great Indian sage Ramana Maharshi once remarked, there is no goal to be reached. There is nothing to be attained. You are the self. You exist always. Now this to me is real inspiration. Principle number 4. Know that we need nothing. No things to be inspired. We came into this world of boundaries from a formless energy field of spirit. We arrived here with no thing, no things. We'll make our exit with no things, nothing. And our purpose, God realization, requires nothing, no things. We are all that we need to be inspired and living on purpose, and the things that continue to flow into our lives are just symbols of the unlimited abundance of our source. In other words, these things have no value in and of themselves because everything in the physical world is changing and will dissolve back to nothingness anyway. When we tune in to what we know rather than what we see, we immediately find that every thought of God is repeated throughout the universe. We can watch as some things enter our lives and others leave, all the while remaining in spirit, knowing that all of those things have nothing to do with our state of inspiration. We need nothing more to be inspired, since we're connected to spirit already. The ancient Persian poet Omar Khayyam offered us these words, which summarize this principle that we don't need another thing to be inspired. It's all right here, right now. He said, "Forget the day that has been cut off from thy existence. Disturb not thyself about tomorrow, which has not yet come. Rest not upon that which is no more. Live happily one instant, and throw not thy life to the winds." Principle number 5. Don't die wondering. This principle is extremely important in working toward an inspired life because it motivates us to act. After all, we don't want to be full of regrets because we failed to heed our ultimate calling. Attempting to do something, even if it doesn't succeed, is inspiring because we don't tend to regret what we do, we regret what we didn't do. Even following a futile attempt, we're inspired because we know that we gave it a shot. It's wondering whether we should or shouldn't try something that leaves us feeling stressed and incomplete. Principle number 6. Remember that our desires won't arrive by our schedule. There's an ancient aphorism that goes, if you really want to make God laugh, tell God your plans. In essence, this means that all we desire will arrive in our life when and only when we're aligned vibrationally with the energy of our source. Our ego won't be consulted or get to determine the schedule. Creation reveals its secrets when it's good and ready. Our job is to take the focus off of the when and put it on being connected to our originating spirit. Our job is to stop challenging and demanding responses from God and instead be more like God. Our job is to understand and accept that all of the things that show up in our life, which we often find contradictory or troublesome, are there because we've attracted them. And we need to have these obstacles in order to clear an opening for our true spirit purpose to emerge. We can let go, surrender, and remind ourselves that all is in divine order. We're much more successful when we allow inspiration to flow in on God's terms than when we're impatient and demanding. As always, our job in God realization is to become more like God. That means surrendering to the timetable that's always perfect, even when it seems to be full of errors. Keep these 6 principles handy and access them anytime you find yourself lacking inspiration. Remember, too, that we're called to this world of inspiration, which beckons us to let go and let God. We grow up believing in so many limitations that after a while our lives actually manifest those limitations. We hear ourselves saying things that we accept as truth, when in fact they are misbeliefs that have turned into our truths. Here are 5 of those myths or misbeliefs that permeate our culture. 1. I can't help the way I am. I've always been this way. If you find yourself believing that you must always be the way you've always been, you are arguing against growth. You must shed the illusion that you cannot help the way you are. You must create a knowing within you that you have the power to create whatever kind of person you want to become in all aspects of your humanity. 2. It's my nature. I inherited who I am, and it can't be changed. To enter the realm of real magic, you will have to suspend such thoughts and become a spiritual being first, a being who has no limitations in the inner domain where boundaries are non-existent. 3. My personality is controlled by my chemistry and metabolism. This is a lie we hear over and over again, and it is repeated in some of the most prestigious circles, making it even more difficult to overcome. While scientists may in fact have a point about body chemistry, what they too often fail to address is what kind of control we have over our own body. Our body chemistry is always being affected by how we choose to think. I want you to take a look at the enormous power that you have in your mind for containing those enzymes or retraining them to work for you rather than against you. Here's misbelief number 4. My family is responsible for my personality. These kinds of pronouncements are the very sort of inner thoughts that will keep you from ever allowing miraculous changes to take place in your personality. You must know within that you not only have a choice today, but you have always had a choice concerning how you react to the influences of your family. The choice is always yours. Know that your family and your role within your family influence you today to the extent that you believe that they do. You must become the producer, director, and actor in the unfolding story of your life. 5. I can't escape my culture and times. If you believe that the culture determines who you are and what kind of a person you will turn out to be, then that will be your reality. On the other hand, everyone who has ever made a difference in the world has been an innovator. An innovator looks within and allows their conscience and commitment to a purpose decide who they will become. If you're going to follow your bliss and make a difference in the world, you will soon learn that you cannot follow the herd. Once again, it boils down to personal responsibility and a willingness to consult your own spiritual awareness, that higher invisible self that flows through you. As you think, so shall you be. These are the big 5 misbeliefs that make up the big lie that was thrust upon you from your earliest moments of consciousness. You must begin a program to overcome these illusions. As you now know, this entire program of creating miracles revolves around one single premise, that you become in the physical world that which you create in your invisible world. Here are the 6 keys to making yourself into the person that you choose for the purpose of fulfilling your heroic mission here. 1 is your personality. Create a fantasy in your mind and imagine exactly how you would like to be. Would you like to be more assertive, more loving and gentle, less anxious and nervous? For now, just know that all of these inner imaginings can be translated into physical behavior, for that is precisely what you've been doing all along anyway. Secondly, your talent. Just for a moment, visualize the optimal talent that you would like to have. Your choice to excel in any given area will be based upon your own personal interests. Your talent, like everything else about you, is a function of the invisible force that flows through your body. It is not in your hands, your genes, or any part of your physical apparatus. It is in the force that flows through all of your being. When you begin to know rather than doubt your talent, you will discover the necessary physical abilities to carry out your purpose. Third is your intelligence. How smart would you like to be? Would it take a miracle for you to be smarter intellectually than you already are? You are as capable as you need to be to fulfill your purpose. Your intelligence is infinite. Almost 20 years ago, I redefined intelligence in your erroneous zones. A truer barometer of intelligence is an effective, happy life lived each day and each present moment of every day. You are a genius. You can improve your arithmetic and reading skills. You can learn anything that you put your mind to. You are a spiritual being first and foremost, and you cannot put a number on that. Fourth, your habits and customs. Would you like to be able to change some of the things that you find yourself doing repeatedly, but which do not serve you any longer? Use your magical powers of inner persuasion to challenge everything about yourself. Your personality is made up of the hundreds of habitual ways that you conduct the daily physical affairs of your life. You can change around your daily humdrum habits and get yourself fully involved in life, regardless of your income level or circumstances. Circumstances do not make a man. They reveal him, as James Allen reminded us in As a Man Thinketh. Learning to think in non-habitual ways is the essence of overcoming personality traits that no longer serve you. Fifthly, your aging. Imagine for yourself the ultimate miracle, a slowing down, or even an elimination of the aging process. The way out of this trap, the real magic that is available to you, is located, as is everything else, in your invisible self, your mind. You can absolutely refuse to let an old person into your body. If you can work your mind in a genuinely magical sense, you can strongly affect the aging process of the cells composed of indestructible DNA. It is in your mind where that invisible intelligence works its magic that you must examine your attitudes towards aging. Do you think old thoughts? You can begin to rethink how you feel about having your individual cells deteriorate. And if you use your mind in a new way to develop a new knowing within, perhaps you will be able to affect that process that you have come to think of as inescapable. Your emotional health is another area. Your emotions are physical manifestations of your thoughts. The joy you experience is located in your physical body, and the chemicals that are present when you experience elation can be identified and quantified. You manufacture those chemicals in your own quantum pharmacy that begins with your mind. When you begin to heal the inner you and consult that inner voice constantly, you literally begin to alter your immune system. Emotions show up in your body as physical manifestations of your thoughts. Keep this in mind as we head toward the path of real magic.